walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
So there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying. And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again.
Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?
Greetings and welcome to the Lou Holtz podcast. Those of you who have watched me before know it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, or any combination in between. It doesn't matter what color you are. It has everything to do with defining the culture of this country. We have lost so much of our culture, and that's what we're doing, talking to various people who have achieved so much and overcome so many problems. Our guest today is very, very special. It's Aaron Golub. He's a professional speaker, entrepreneur, and consultant. He became the first legally blind Division I athlete. He played football at Tulane University. He started his journey as a speaker in high school. Aaron was asked to go on Good Morning America, where he committed to play football at Tulane. He knew immediately that he had a message that would impact millions. He's traveled the world sharing his message. Aaron's biggest accomplishment, and what he's most proud of, was he named team captain of the Tulane football team went on to become the first NFL free agent. You have performed in both the companies like Deloitte, Playfly Sports, Evolution Mining, and many others. He's appeared on Good Morning America as well as CBS, NBC, Sports Illustrated, New York Times, Entrepreneur, NPR, and many other news outlets. It's my pleasure to welcome Aaron today to this show. Welcome and congratulations on the great success you've had and your many accomplishments.
Thank you, Coach. I'm excited to get to know you and be here with you.
Well, Aaron, at a very young age, you overcame an enormous obstacle that was outside your control. But you persevered and excelled in sports and now business. What propelled you forward in life, and where did your ambition come from?
Yeah, it was finding acceptance and gratitude and perspective within the limitations I have. When I was younger, I think I looked at being legally blind as, why does this have to happen to me instead of it happening for me? And as I got older, I think I learned that if I shift my perspective to, how is this happening for me, to learn, to grow, to get better, and find gratitude for being legally blind, it allowed me to do so many great things in sports, in business, in relationships, and it just transformed the way I think.
Well, that's amazing. What a great attitude. What a great message that is. Over 42 million Americans have disabilities, but I think many Americans are uninformed of many disabilities. Can you explain what it means to be legally blind?
For me, what it means is my right eye is completely blind, no vision at all. My left eye, normal vision is about 20/20. Mine is about 2300 out of my left eye. I see out of a really tiny hole out of kind of this side of my eye, and that's what my vision is in that eye.
Well, you know what? I'm 87 years of age, and my eyesight's going downhill. I have trouble reading sometimes, and I think, boy, oh boy, that's unfair. I can only imagine what you've gone through. How'd you overcome all the obstacles that you have normally? Do you ever try to go a day? And I say this to every listener, just go 2 hours, closing your eyes, and try to get around. It's unbelievable what you've overcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I've heard you say you were thankful and gratitude for being born legally blind. What inspired these comments? That's unusual. That's unbelievable. An individual who's legally blind gets to the point where he said, thankfully, I had an advantage of being legally blind. How did that come about? How do you keep that attitude? Because one day you're up, next day you're not. How'd you do that, Aaron?
Yeah, look, I had to come with terms of accepting it, that there's nothing I can do to change it. I can't change the fact that I'm legally blind. Nothing can change that. And when I was able to do that, it allowed me to think differently. And for me, I'm just going to take the example of football. I found the position long snapping. I wasn't because of my vision, I couldn't be a quarterback or wide receiver. And if I could see, I probably would have tried to play one of those types of positions. And I probably wouldn't have been good enough because there's thousands of kids in the country in high school who are trying to be a Division I wide receiver or quarterback. I also realized that in the beginning, the position that my coach told me to play in 7th grade was offense and defensive line. He was like, Aaron, just, hit the person in the other color jersey. And, that works when you're 12. But, when I'm older and I'm not 300 pounds, that doesn't work that much longer. And so, I found long snapping and I realized if I got good enough at this niche position that nobody wanted to play, I might have an opportunity. And I wouldn't have found that position if I wasn't legally blind.
Did your teammates help you in the offensive defensive line?
I think they helped however they could. For example, for long snapping in particular, when I was, there and obviously had to block people in front of me, we would do things differently. So on a field goal, obviously normally you'd go on a visual cue from the holder. They would flash a hand signal and you'd snap. For me, we would either do, a verbal signal, or if the stadium was super loud, we would have one of the guards tap me in some way. So I knew when to snap it, essentially.
Oh, that's really great. Now, you said you played a lot of sports growing up, but football was the sport that you were best at and the sport that you enjoyed the most. What was it about football that really excited you?
The team environment, the camaraderie. When I was in 7th grade and trying to play at the start, I just wanted to be a part of a team. Like you said, I tried tons of sports. Baseball didn't work out. Basketball didn't work out. And I wanted to find something I could be a part of a team. And even though I wasn't good, I was able to be on the team and I was able to try. I wasn't playing in the beginning, wasn't playing at all, but at least I could be, a third string offensive lineman on the team at least.
Well, what I can only imagine being a head coach and somebody come and say, Coach, I'm legally blind, but I want to play football. I would say, you got to be kidding me. There's no way in this world. How did the coach respond?
They were nervous. They were definitely nervous in the beginning. They, when I was younger, they didn't know what to think. They didn't think I could play. But, I think every time they were like, look, if you want to try, you can try. And I think what I showed them every day was, my actions speak louder than my words. I was willing to put in the time, effort, and energy on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom to prove myself. And I think the coaches learned that if I was willing to go above and beyond other people in those areas, they were willing to give me a shot.
I can only imagine what an inspiration you were to your teammates. They had all these problems, and yet you continue to persevere, did the very best you possibly could. And you have other people who are so talented, and they cut every doggone corner. They don't take advantages of it. So you'd just be a great inspiration to have on the team. But did the coaches ever worry about liability?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely was a concern. I think, I don't remember the exact details, but I probably signed certain waivers to be able to play. And in college, for example, in games, I would only do field goals and extra points. I wouldn't do punts in games because we would run a spread, punt, and they wanted the long snapper to run downfield. And so my coaches didn't want me running downfield and getting, for lack of a better term, blindsided. In practice, I would do punts and, I could run downfield then, but my teammates obviously, knew not to just come and hit me from the side I couldn't see. So in games, I would only do field goals and extra points in college. In high school, I did punts, but it's obviously a different ballgame in high school.
Yeah, it is different. Tell us about your time on the team at Tulane. And what was it like when you got the offer to play football at a Division I university? How'd you react?
Yeah.
Were you surprised, nervous, or what?
I was so excited. It was all this hard work that I had been putting in every single day had finally paid off. For me, being able to get that opportunity, get that offer to play at that level was a dream I had, and it was finally coming to fruition. And so I was incredibly grateful and excited. When I got to Tulane, my thought was no one cared what I did in high school. No one cared how good I became. What mattered was I needed to prove myself again, because my greatest fear, although I got that opportunity, was I didn't want anyone to think that Tulane was bringing me in as this feel-good story to be nice, or to as a charity case. I wanted to continue to prove people that I deserved the spot, and I earned it because I was good enough. And so I always had that in the back of my mind. I think in the beginning of I need to earn this opportunity because I want to show people that I deserve to be here.
Well, Aaron, I've seen it. You see a lot of healthy young men, and their parents don't allow them to play football because they don't want them to get hurt. And so then they buy them a motorcycle to keep them out of sports, which is more dangerous than playing. What were your parents' reaction when you said, Mom and Dad, I'm going to play college football at Tulane?
They were nervous, but I think they were more nervous when I started to play in seventh grade. They didn't know what to think back then. I think they were concerned and very hesitant, but they knew it was something I needed to do for myself. By the time I was got that opportunity to play at Tulane, I think they were excited. They were also probably a little surprised, transparently. Although I was continuously putting in this time and effort every single day, they saw that. They probably still in the back of their mind were thinking that this was a long shot. But, I think my parents did a lot for me, transparently. Every day in high school, I got up at 5 a.m. and I went to school to practice long snapping for an hour before school started. And who do you think would drive me every day? I can't drive. My parents would drive me. Most of the time, my dad would take me and he would catch my snaps every single morning for an hour before school. And he would never say to me, Aaron, do you want to go practice? But if I said to him the night before, Dad, can we go practice tomorrow morning at 5:30 in the morning? Absolutely, Aaron. I'll see you in the morning. Every single time. And I think they are a huge factor of how I was able to play at the next level.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, Aaron?
I have an older sister and also an older brother. So I have two siblings.
They have a problem with their eyesight?
No, they don't.
Oh, that's really amazing. Have they been supportive of you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. No, they've been always helpful and always there. My sister and I are much closer in age, so we're very close. And she has been incredible to help in everything I ever needed. Always there for me, always there
What's
to
the
help
most
support.
memorable moment from playing college football? What's the one thing
I think
that
for
stood out?
me, when I was named a captain, that's 100% the most memorable moment for me, regardless of any game. Just the fact that my teammates, my coaches believed in me in that way.
Well, that's a great thing about football, as I told our players. The only friends you have in this world when things don't go well, those you eat with, sleep with, bleed with, pray with, and cry with. That's your family and your teammates, particularly in football, which is a true team sport. Now, how have sports helped you to grow and focus in your life? What was the biggest life lessons you learned while on the field?
Leadership and teamwork for sure, and communication. I was able to learn those traits that transformed into who I am today. Those are, what allowed me to develop my skills in life and business each and every day on the field, understanding how to be a good teammate, understanding how to communicate and how to be a leader.
Well, that is so true. That's a great thing about football. As I've always said, I learned more on a football field than I ever learned in a college classroom. And that's true. But public speaking is the worst people's fear. They're scared to death to get up and speak. But you've chosen to do this for a living. How did you start public speaking? How did you start public speaking? And what motivates you in your business?
Yeah, I started in college. I'd say whenever we would have different events for the team, my coaches would ask me to speak. And, there were a couple times I got different awards and my coaches wanted me to share my story and speak. And so that's what started it. After college, like most college students, I got a job, but I was doing some speaking on the side, trying to grow it. Eventually, it got to the point where I could quit that job and do what I'm doing now full time and been able to grow it significantly. It's been an amazing journey.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you get nervous when you speak?
Not anymore. I don't anymore. I love every second of being able to get up and help others with the message. But it's, in the beginning, absolutely.
Who had the greatest influence on your life and why, Aaron?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd probably just have to say my parents. I told you that story about them helping me, take me to practice in the mornings. But, from when I was a little kid, they would always push me in unique ways. And so I always like to give the example of if you're 5 years old and you're struggling to tie your shoes, your parents are probably just going to tie your shoes to get out the door. My parents wouldn't do that. They would look at me and they would say, no, Aaron, go figure it out. Because they knew I would have so many more challenges later on in life because of my vision. And they wanted to push me at an early age to figure things out so I would be successful later on in life.
It's amazing. Now, tell me about your personal life. Do you have a girlfriend?
I do. Yeah, I have a girlfriend and a dog.
I tell you what, Well, I don't know how long the girlfriend will be with you. The dog is man's best friend for a reason on that. I think your story is extremely inspiring. As a father-grandfather myself, I'd like to recognize the many families in this country who have children with disabilities. Do you have anything you want to share with parents about having a child with a disability?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the same example I just shared about my parents. I think allowing your kids to fail is really important. I think too many families or parents who have a child with a disability coddle them in some way. And instead, you need to understand that you need to turn them in, build their tough skin, build the resilience in them, and understand that they can fail and they can learn from that failure. And that's important.
I could agree with you more, Aaron. And one of the problems we have today is the young people aren't used to failing. Everybody got a trophy or no valedictorian. Everybody gets the same grade. And consequently, when they do have frustration, they don't know how to handle it. When I was growing up, I was smaller and I was slower, and everybody picked on me. But you know what? That's part of life. You learn how to handle it. It's all the experiences you have inside. And It's just unfortunate too many parents don't want their children to have any frustration, but sometimes that is so good for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Aaron, the theme of this show is coaching America back to greatness. And that's because of the culture of this country. What do you believe this country needs to do to restore the culture of our country? You know, there used to be a time where immigration, they came here to become us. Now so many people come here to want us to become them, want us to celebrate their soccer team, their holiday, whatever else the case may be. And that's not the case. When I was growing up, the culture of this country was we're going to be honest, we're going to help our fellow citizens next to us, we're going to work hard, we're going to be accountable for the choices we make. And we get away from that so much. But what advice would you give, Aaron, to people about the culture of this country and what we have to do to bring it back?
I think it goes back to a conversation we were just having, honestly. I think everyone, we talked about people with disabilities, but everyone needs to learn to build resilience, to be accountable, and to learn how to fail. And I think that starts when you're a child. I think that in school, we need to learn that, you should learn to fail. You should fail at things, because if you fail and then you learn what you did wrong and you improve, you will eventually succeed if you have resilience and perseverance. But I think building those qualities into young kids is really important.
Well, I can only imagine what it's like to be legally blind, but I do know this. We can't do anything in this world on our own. I don't care whether you're legally blind or whether you have 20/20 vision. We need other people to help us, to guide us, to be there as our friend, etc. And we're missing that because the 3 rules: do the right thing, do your best, but always show people you care. And you'll never meet anybody again that need a smile, a kind word, or encouragement. But Aaron, you're a real inspiration to so many people, including me. And what you've overcome is absolutely fantastic. And I strongly urge anybody that wants to speak about overcoming adversity and difficulty that they contact you. Thank you for being with us, and God bless.
Thank you for having me.
And he walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
See, there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying. And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again. Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?